Is there something in you that creates a nasty response from others? Hey guys, it's John here. I have a fairly long question here, fairly long comment here, and I want to jump into it and just really read it to you up front because I want you to hear the place that this is coming from. Sometimes I am hard on myself. It's a knee-jerk reaction to how someone might respond with meanness to me, and I tell myself, I know this stuff. Why am I letting this get to me? And yes, breathing helps, and I aming helps. But I wonder, is there something in me that attracts this type of nasty response, seemingly out of the blue, from a generally random person? It does sort of mimic the scared and helpless way I would feel when I am verbally threatened as a child. That was so long ago, but the feeling is basically the same. I was wondering if you have a video in your library that addresses this sort of situation. Thank you, John. Well, my friend, this is that video. Let's talk about this. You know, subconscious beliefs are always hard to overcome because they're subconscious. Until we recognize them consciously, that is the belief that we have. Now, oftentimes people will come up and get mad at you now or say nasty things to you. That has nothing to do with you. If they're coming up and being nasty and mean, it has everything to do with them. They're the ones who are choosing to be angry. They're the ones who are choosing to be in a bad mood. I talk about going to the grocery store and being loved, but what I usually don't talk about is the fact that my wife's aunt was living with us at the time, and she was just a bitter, negative person. And I went to the grocery store with her, and people would literally do wide circles around her, and she'd go to the next aisle, and people would avoid the aisle she was in because she was so negative. She was so just always had a scowl on her face, and she just hated everybody, hated being near any people. And it's really interesting because some people are just that way. I run into them. You know, the key is to be in a state of love no matter what they're doing. You know, and the fact that you have to return to breathing and aiming, it's great that you're doing that. It's because you're training your mind not to react to it. And the more you train your mind not to react to other people's junk, the less you'll react to other people's junk. Eventually, you'll come to the point where somebody come up and rather than being defensive or offensive, you'll be curious. Wonder what their problem is. Or you'll be, what's their fear? What are they trying to do here? Do they believe everyone's out to get them? Do they believe that, I'm an evil person just for some reason? Because they don't know me. Why are they being nasty? They're just being nasty because they're just being nasty. They are in fear of some kind. I tell the story about taking the flight, and they were bumping seats, and everyone was going up and being nasty and mean. And I walked up and I was loving to the person behind the counter, and I ended up getting on the flight because I was the one who was loving. It's a matter of you realizing that your experience is your experience and their experience is their experience. And the more you do the things you're doing, exhale, let it go. Don't let the tension sit in you. And then focus on what is their fear. Focus on what is it that's making them feel that way, because it's not you. No one can make anybody do anything or feel any way without that person making the choice to feel that way. They can take offense to something. Somebody the other day in a private session, I mentioned the angels, and because she was talking about seeing wings, and I said it's interesting because when we see something divine, a lot of times we'll put a structure around it, and when you look at the terms of angels and wings, you're looking at the hierarchy of religion, angels and saints and all those things. And she got really offended at the word hierarchy. And I was like, I didn't say anything bad, or I didn't say anything about her. I was talking about hierarchy. And she got completely offended. And then my 30-minute session with her ended up going an hour and 15 minutes because she was in a tirade, a really visceral tirade. And it was very interesting because I My private sessions, that never happens. That was an anomaly out of the blue. And the whole time she was talking, I kept thinking, yeah, she's just in a fear state, and she would yell over top of me, and she would. It was just really, it was interesting to hear her victim mode. But I couldn't get invested in her world because those were her fears. I kept thinking, what is she afraid of? And I personally, I think she was still reeling from a failed marriage, but and it was in defensive mode. But there was nothing there to be defensive about. I wasn't even talking about her when I used the word hierarchy. So some people are just that way. But it's once again, you can't be affected by them unless you choose to be affected by them. What are you choosing when you come into those experiences? They're nasty. The first part of that was they are nasty. I am not. I'm joyful. I'm loving. I'm caring. I'm looking at their nastiness as just fear. And the more I look at that as just fear, the more I recognize where that fear comes from. And you can almost always break it down to the fear of not being loved in some form. And when you look at it that way, you don't have those reactions. You don't have those expressions. And you start to let go of the reactions of the past that are subconscious, and you start actively creating a joyful present moment, which changes everything. And so that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.